Hello, this is Mr. Leopold, and welcome to my introduction to Unit 3, what I'm calling the most important unit of the year. Unit 4 will build on it, and then Unit 5, 6, and even Unit 8. So you really need to get this Unit 3 here. It's really important. Now, as you know, Unit 2, we solved for x. It was one variable. You might get an answer like x equals 6. So now, Units 3 through 8, we have two variables. And you have, instead of an equation with just x, you'll have an equation with x's and y's. And you could have other variables, but normally this is what we have. So you might have this equation, and then instead of an answer being 6, well, that wouldn't make sense. Is it x is 6 or y is 6? Well, we have the answer, so to speak, or the solution to that equation is an ordered pair. And it can be different numbers. If x is one number, y is going to be another number. And but anyways, what we're going to do is I'm going to play a video, and it's about 5 minutes long, but it's really important about plotting points on the coordinate grid. You can skip over these 5 minutes and then get to the end, but I recommend you just kind of hang with me in there and listen to the recording, so to refresh your memory, so you know all about plotting points. So just give me 1 minute here.
So here's what a general graph looks like. It's typically with two lines crossing like this, two number lines, a vertical number line and a horizontal number line. And they're labeled as the x-axis, that's our horizontal line, and the y-axis is our vertical line. The origin is the point where these two lines meet, right there in the middle, and that's where we'll start whenever we're graphing a point. You would always start at the origin, and I'll show you how we would actually graph a point. The origin is called the point 0, 0. In other words, it's 0 along the x-axis, left to right. And it's also 0 along the y-axis, up and down. That's the starting point, 0, 0. Any other point on this graph is going to have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate that are either positive or negative, and they start from the origin and move out. Let's go ahead and look at what this point would be. This point here, we start at our origin, up there, and we move 4 places to the right, and then 5 places down. You see that? We would start here and go 1, 2, 3, 4 places, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places down. So our x value is going to be 4. We start at the origin and we go 4 along the x-axis, and our y value would be negative 5 because we go down 5 in the y direction, the up and down direction. So we would call this point 4, negative 5. Just a quick note about positives and negatives. We sort of touched on this a little bit when we were labeling that point. Starting at the origin, 0, 0, if you move left along the x-axis, and the numbers will be negative. If we move right along the x-axis, as indicated by this arrow, then the values will be positive. So our last point, if you remember, was a positive 4 because we moved to the right. When we're moving up and down on the y-axis, moving up is positive y values and moving down is negative y values. Again, we saw that with our point that we had labeled that we went down along the y-axis, and therefore it was a negative value. Speaking of positives and negatives, it kind of brings us into talking about quadrants. The quadrants are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in this upper quadrant, number 1, all the x values will be positive and all the y values will be positive because it's to the right and up. In quadrant number 2, we move to the left and up. So it's going to be positive y values but negative x. So there'll be a negative, comma, positive. These values because we move to the left, and negative y values because we move down. And then over here in quadrant number 4, we would have positive x values and negative y values, like the point that we gave as an example earlier. So those are the 4 quadrants, and also what values of points you would have in each of those quadrants. So that's something else that you'll see as far as the basics of graphing. So what we're going to do now is practice just a little bit, labeling some points. We're given some ordered pairs. That's what these are called. They have X values and Y values, and we're going to draw the points up here on the board. So the first point is 1, 1. And to do that, we would go start at the origin, move one place to the right along the x-axis, and then one place to the left, or one place up, on the y-axis. So that would be our first point, 1, 1. That would be this point right here. The next one is 2, negative 5. So again, we start at the origin, and we would go 2 to the right, and then negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our point would be right around there. All right, so that would be the point positive 2, negative 5, right there. And then our third point, negative 3, negative 4, is going to be in quadrant number 3. We would go 3, negative, or 3 to the left on the x-axis, and then 4 down. So 3, negative 4. Would be right around there.
Okay, this is Mr. Leopold again. Thank you for listening. As you can see, he was discussing about how to plot the ordered pairs, and I paused the recording because I think you got an idea, although I suggest everyone get some graph paper for these units and practice graphing. You don't have to do a whole lot with the first couple lessons in Unit 3, but it's good practice, and to have that graph paper ready. At any rate, let's see. Okay, so how do these two variables relate to real life? You know, over in the video you just saw, he plotted random points in here, and it really didn't make a lot of sense other than that's the point and that's what it is. But how would you relate to real life? Well, how about this? Suppose you had a babysitting job, or it could be anything at all, but you earn $5 an hour. And so I'm going to ask you to make a table and a graph of the hours worked, we're going to call that X, and the money earned, we'll call that Y. So as you can see, we actually put meaning to it, and actually, instead of 1, 2, 3, it's 5, 10, 15, 20. So the scale is important, and the hours worked, you can just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So these are real life things. So put in, if X is 0, if you didn't work anything, you didn't make anything. If you worked 1 hour, you earned $5. 2 hours, 10. So I'd like you to print this out and go ahead and fill out the table and plot your points. Remember, you have your X first and then the Y. Some students will say it's kind of like going into the elevator and then you go up or down. You always do the X and then the Y. That's one ordered pair. It might be 1, 5, and you go 1, 5, and put 1 point here. And you plot all the points and then see what you get. See if you get a curved line, straight line, or do you get random things all over the place. You'll notice there's no negative numbers. Now, in this year, often we'll use negative numbers, but in a real-life situation, you may or may not use negative numbers. And I do have a little question here about how many hours would you have to work to make $75. And the other question is, can we make an equation for this? Y equals something with an X in it. Normally it's multiplying something with an X and then adding or subtracting something. See if you can figure that out. And bring this to Class Connect. I'm going to let you do it on paper at home. And when you come into Class Connect, I'm going to let you come into a breakout room and you guys can actually do this yourself with the whiteboard tools. So thank you again for listening. And once again, I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Bye.